Good morning. Welcome to yet another adventure online delivery of web broadcast from EMDUG, the Extension Mobile Device Users Group. This is Jeff Hino here with
Victor Villegas, Technology and Media Support Coordinator for Extension Service.
And we've got a special guest today.
I am Stephen Ward, a multimedia programmer for the EESC.
And as usual, we're here to provide kind of an overview of what kinds of things are going on with mobile devices, what people are using, the kinds of apps they're using, and basically have an opportunity to share amongst us all what we're doing with our mobile devices. And today we've got a pretty packed show, right?
Yeah, quite a bit. We're kind of limited to just photo applications, apps, how to use them in extension, but I think we got quite a list on there. So yeah, it'll take us 3 minutes.
Yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some news about mobile use in extension in Oregon and also other issues. And then we're going to take a look at some new developments in mobile learning that you might find interesting. Then it's on into the exciting world of mobile photography. And we're breaking this thing down to several areas. We'll talk about the actual photo apps themselves, the kinds of apps you use for manipulating photos, and then some ideas for how you can share and store photos. And lastly, just sort of come back with a retrospective about, well, what does this all mean for using your mobile? Victor, you told us about something you heard about.
Yeah, this is, I know I've mentioned it before, but to some people, the Yamhill County Extension has bought 4 tablets, specifically Samsung tablets. They're the 10-inch version. They run Android. They were thinking either iPads or Samsung. They decided to go with Samsung. It was a little bit cheaper. And what their planned use is for using them for the master gardeners at farmers markets so that they'll be able to pull up information for people right there on the spot. Now they just bought the Wi-Fi version. They didn't buy the one that had the 4G capability so that they can actually go over the internet through the phone. And so they were trying to figure out how to get the internet, and I suggested using Verizon MiFi, which is a hotspot that can actually connect 5 different devices to that. And basically it's kind of like a cell phone, but it just provides the internet service over there. And so they're able to connect those tablets through one of those. AT&T has their version of a hotspot, and there's other companies that provide something similar. And the iPad, right, or the tablet, right, that usually costs another $100 on top of the.
How fast are those hotspots? Are they able to handle things like streaming video?
They're not full on, something like you could get through Comcast at your home or whatnot, but it's still decent. I'm not sure I would recommend it for video because you're still paying for the data plan, even if you're doing the hotspot. Yeah. So you're limited usually to 2 gigabytes per month on that stuff.
I just changed plans to the mobile share on AT&T, and the hotspot came in as part of that package.
Oh, really?
So no longer do I have to look at actually paying additional fee per month. I've noticed, speaking of plans, I think they're getting to be more feature full. And if you're on an old data plan, you might look at signing up again under these new data share plans, mobile share. Lots of new features.
The only reason I haven't changed my plan is because I was grandfathered in with unlimited data. Don't want to quite change that.
Well, but speaking of that, though, I was on that too, and then they said, well, that no longer exists. But what I did was I looked at my actual data usage, and unlimited is infinite, but I was only using, like myself, 2 gigabytes a month, even though I thought I was a fairly heavy user. So by choosing a plan that had, I think I chose a 4 gigabyte per month plan, that was more than adequate to handle me and my wife and my cats, which I really often do a lot of cat video. But anyway, there's a lot to be said about using these tablets in remote sites now, like Yamhill is considering. The idea, too, that you can use these as data input devices, where if you're doing a survey, for example, of let's say people at a farmer's market, they would be delighted to sit down with your iPad and maybe punch in some survey. Whereas before, it might take a little bit more on in a board or sign in or use a paper product.
Yeah, and there's some very interactive apps you can download and use for those type of situations to capture people's names, information, email, phone numbers, all those kind of things.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are free, so.
Well, maybe we got to sometime. Let's take a look at those devices, especially as fair season is just
for
around
4-H,
the corner.
this would be awesome.
Right. In other news,
Oh, Android.
this
yes.
is sad. This is sad.
Android is now considered one of the highest attacked systems for viruses. The popularity of Android has gone through the roof, and along with that comes people trying to, put malware on there. Hate to say it, but that's just the way things are with the more popular devices. As Android gets more popular, and they're selling more devices, I believe, than Apple. People are looking to grab the most amount of these type of systems out there. So they're writing viruses for all these.
Where would the attack come in? I mean, would it be something that would show up in your mobile email app, or how would you even know?
You might or might not know. Some of these, actually, the main way they come in is that you download some app that you think is something that may be useful or whatnot, but they have some code written in there that just works in the background and starts grabbing your email, your contact information, and then sending out emails. Very similar to what you get on a desktop. Apple doesn't have this problem because they lock down their system, and a lot of people complain, well, it's a closed system. Apple, only lets certain things in. Well, yeah, there's a reason for it. I tend to like iPhones, iOS, because of that reason. They have a lot more protections. Android, you're able to do maybe some more self-programming, but with that self-programming, other people are able to do those programs. And you can get apps for the Android, not just from Google. I mean, you can get them from other different places. iPhone, you can only get them from the Apples. A lot more quality control.
So a good heads up for those with the Android phones, just to be aware that you're not immune.
Yeah.
And we'll keep an eye on that situation too, and perhaps OSU's network security folks will start to feed information.
Well, the best thing is also to just check the ratings and reviews for apps that you're interested in. Don't just grab a new app just because it looks cool. Make sure
I do that all the time.
Well, it's easier on the iPhone. You have an iPhone, so. But with the Android, it's buyer beware.
Well, speaking of that, since the world is changing, the idea now is that if you didn't think that mobile devices were fast moving into the leadership, look at this article that was in US Today recently. PC sales are slumping. You can see that people are moving away from what I call the box with a fan in it on their desktop and embracing this new mobile technology. So PCs, desktops aren't dead, but they definitely are on a downward slide. So if you had any doubts about putting energy into mobile device, learning more about them, or maybe adding more content to deliver via them, I think this headline says it all.
Yeah, and it's not just PCs, but websites. When you're making a new website nowadays, the first thing you think of is mobile. There's more people accessing websites via their mobile devices than desktop. So if your website is not set up for that, you're losing out. That's the way people are accessing their information nowadays.
In other developments, we're also experimenting with developing multimedia mobile-based publications in response to just that kind of trend we've talked about. So extension needs to be prepared and have content that's deliverable on mobile devices. And that's intriguing and motivating and full of multimedia that people are expecting. So Stephen Ward is here today and actually has been working on a project using Adobe Digital Production Suite, which is DPS. And we've been seeing a lot of movement on campus and interest with this product. It's still in the early stages of negotiations about access to the software, but currently Adobe is working with the Extension Experimentation Communications and gave us access to explore developing more learning-based use of this mobile technology. So yeah, with that, I'll turn it over to Stephen. You can tell us a bit about this experiment and pilot.
Yeah, sure. We've been exploring different options for displaying both publications and curriculum. And one of the options is this Adobe DPS system that Jeff was just talking about. It stands for the Digital Production Suite, and it basically takes what you would typically do for print design and publishing and gives you access to multimedia inside of that publication. And it's geared towards mobile devices. They also have a web output option. But basically what you're looking at is an enhanced learning opportunity through these publications. And we've been doing one for silviculture, for forestry related modules. And we have a couple kind of going, and they're very interactive. I'm going to try, yeah, I'll try to share the screen here. Let me pull it up.
Yeah, DPS is been used broadly by a lot of high-end Madison Avenue magazines, but also by some major big player universities, Harvard, Stanford, others. But the idea that we could use it for more learning materials development was really intriguing to Adobe. So they are actually watching carefully as we produce these modules. Oh, here it is.
Okay, hopefully that's coming up there.
Yeah, that's good.
And so the great part about these publications is what would normally be a still image can be video. I don't know if that's coming through or not. Might not come through, I guess. I don't know. Try to choose it again. Connected.
These publications are kind of essentially built from scratch with ideas of building multimedia in from the very start. So in this case, the authors, Amy Grota and Steve Fitzgerald, worked with us right from the get-go to identify multimedia modules that we could put right into the publication as an essential part of it. So a different way of thinking about it. Okay, there we go.
Start up.
Yeah, you had that forest photo for a second.
Is that coming through?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's just a little bit of delay.
Yeah, it's a very delayed. So I think my talking will probably be a little bit ahead of where I'm at, so I'll try to time it here. But like I was saying, what would normally be still photos or a couple of photos, you can turn into video or a series of photos to give your people reading, your clients reading, students reading it, more information and a deeper experience. It's pretty user-friendly to create. If you've ever used InDesign or really any of the Adobe products such as Photoshop, it's something you could get in and learn, relatively quickly. Certain people will probably pick it up quicker than others. But it's something we're excited about. The ability to combine HTML interactions and animations with it is also very useful, because we can put them on the web, and put them in these publications, kind of as little learning modules.
So these videos and photos and whatnot, are they living on the iPad? Are they out in the web? Are they linked? How are they coming through?
What's great about it is you can choose, and so we've had some other potential publications come in where they are concerned about being out where there wouldn't be web access. And so one of the great things about this is you could choose to have a publication that gets fully downloaded. So all of the video, all of the photos, any interactions would be included on the device.
All embedded.
In there. But you can also, if you want to have a quicker download speed, and it's the people most likely to download it and to view your publication are going to have internet access, you could create a publication that stays connected and would stream all your interactivity.
Mm-hmm.
It looks like this is going to be too delayed to really show you, unfortunately.
But we can post a video on EMDUG's blog
certainly.
that shows how this operates.
Certainly.
So, but stay tuned. We're busy producing these as, like I say, pilots for both Extension and also Adobe. We're watching carefully, and perhaps we'll see an installation of this software, perhaps even campus-wide. We'll keep an eye on that. In other developments, the idea of being able to create mobile devices, mobile-ready learning for devices, can also use Pachyderm now, which I would like to show you briefly.
We're trying to get that Stevens off of there now.
Okay. And Pachyderm is, as some of you might have known, as you've used this before. And Pachyderm in the past has been a way to create simple learning modules and learning objects that are multimedia based. And recently, within the last 2 weeks, we've updated to Pachyderm 3.0, which is HTML5, meaning that it, in fact, can broadcast or create mobile-ready presentations that will play both on iPads, tablets, and phones. So there are over 150 people currently using Pachyderm, and we'll continue to train folks. But be aware that it will actually allow you to create products like this one, which is comes up eventually. Pachyderm. Yeah. But the idea is that, again, these modules can be built fairly simply. Pachyderm is kind of like filling out a form on Amazon to order a book, basically, and lets you choose a variety of media to place in them and play it on your phone. So again, the idea here is that we want to support the development of content, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we need your expertise. You're the content folks to start looking at actually creating.
So with Pachyderm, again, it's the same thing as DPS. Does it let you embed the videos and photos on the device, or are they all pulling off the web?
It's gotta all come from the server.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then people would have to be connected in order to get information.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's exciting because it opens the door for people to explore these different learning modules on any device with a modern browser. So you're just opening the door for more people to have access to your info.
Right.
Yeah, it's exciting that's HTML5, and now you can actually see it on iPads and iPhones, because you weren't able to do that with the previous version because it was Flash-based.
And yeah, stay tuned for additional training we're looking at this summer to offer a 2-day course in Pachyderm. A real opportunity to sit down with one of your favorite topics, perhaps, bring it to the table and create a learning module based around. Watch for more news there. Well, I think it's time for us to dive in to the whole world of photography on mobile devices. And this topic's huge. And again, the EMDUG group here is we're users just like you. We know some of the stuff that we like using. There are many things out there that you might be using that we don't know about. So our intent here is just to give you some ideas if you haven't tried some of these kinds of apps. And also encourage some exploration for those of you who have the apps and haven't tried them, or to explore new possibilities. Your camera is built in, phone, or your tablet. So one of the things I want to talk about, though, is that when it comes to cameras, a quote that I've been really enjoying lately is that the best camera you have is the one you have with you. And these days, most of us are carrying smartphones with camera capacity built in. The opportunities are just there to pull this camera out when necessary and grab all kinds of photos in all kinds of situations. So that's the key, is that you've got the capacity to capture compelling videos or still images and other things about extension in your work that can be easily shared. So the first thing we're going to do, though, is look at what we're using on our cameras on our phones for cameras. So, Victor, what is it that you're using on your iPhone?
Oh man, I have hundreds of apps on here, but interestingly enough, I have one that is called Best Camera, which follows that same principle of the best camera is the one you have with you. Yeah, this one was produced by a professional photographer, and let's see if I can bring that up. Again, we're going to try broadcasting this. And let's see.
We're actually broadcasting live from the Corvallis Public Library. In order to be able to do this kind of live broadcast of what we have on our phones, we had to get away from the security systems that the university has in place. Currently, it's a challenge to work within enterprise security systems, internet systems like at OSU, and be able to share mobile screens. So it looks like it's working.
So far. Okay, there it is.
Yeah, you need some more photography apps.
You think so? All right, so this one is called Best Camera. It's on the left-hand side there. And this, you can either take a picture or grab them from your album. And then it has these filters that you can do. So let me actually take a photo. And, there's Stephen right there. Stephen, say hi to the camera. All right, we'll use that one.
There it goes.
And then we can add different filters for this.
Filters for what purpose?
Well, you can change the colors. You can make it brighter. You can change it to black and white. Do sepia. Do just adjustments. So there's more artistic type things. You can see the different looks here. There's the black and white right there. And then you can put filters on top of filters to get different versions. So again, it's kind of artsy.
And we'll talk a little more. There's a lot of apps out there that can bring some attitude to your photos.
Right, right. And from here, you can, again, you can crop. You can add a frame around it. A lot of the apps will already have these. It's not just for taking photos. I mean, they'll let you manipulate them and whatnot. So let's say we want to go with that, and we can actually send this out. And I can share it on thebestcamera.com, on Facebook, Flickr, Twitter, email it, or put it to the camera roll.
And that's one of the beauties of having a smartphone camera, is that with this ability, you can post photos to your social media directly from the fair or from the farmer's market or from the field where you're working with a group of folks in ag. So that's the key, is perhaps the photography, the quality of them is actually quite good, these little cameras. And with some basic ideas of good composition and that kind of thing, you can upload some great photos that are very timely and accessible to folks very, very easily.
Yeah. So let's see, another one I have on here is Photo Studio. And this one is a free one, so it has ads. But again, we can take a photo, get to the camera, autofocus, and you can do zoom if you wanted to, get a little bit closer.
That zoom, we need to talk about that.
Yeah, it depends which camera you have and how much zoom. You can do a little bit of zoom, but I wouldn't recommend too much.
Yeah, remember that zoom is in the world of smartphones are digital zooms. And the quality of photo is going to drop off rapidly.
It interpolates your photo and
Yeah.
pixelated.
Now, the higher number of pixels you have in your camera, then that might be less and less of a problem. And these days, smartphones are getting very powerful cameras with lots of megapixels. So that could very well change or be different even as I speak.
Yeah, it's getting better. When I had the iPhone 3, there was no zoom at all. And then the iPhone 4, some of the apps had zooms, but it would just be all fuzzy. With the iPhone 5, I've seen that some people are able to zoom in somewhat. I wouldn't zoom in like, all the way, but you can do maybe a 1/4 of the way, and you would still get a good result because there's enough pixels.
Do you have an app that opens my eyes in this picture?
Yeah, there's actually an app that will take like multiple pictures of the same thing and choose the best one. So you can actually have, if someone has their eyes closed in one photo, it will take all of the different pictures and make sure everybody's eyes are open. Yeah, I can't remember the name of that. There's a few of them that do that.
And most of these cameras now are using that. Is it HD? What's it called, Stephen? Where it actually is compositing several
Do an
photos.
HDR.
HDRs.
Yeah.
I think that's default on the iPhone camera. Is that as HDR?
I don't know if it's a default, but there are.
Or you can turn it on within your settings.
I have one here. It's called iCamera HDR. Again, same thing. Photo. It says hold steady to take a photo. Finished, and then it lets you again do all your different settings: brighter, darker, rotate, colorize. Oh, crashed on me. Happens sometimes.
So I better jump to our next camera, which is, for those of you using iPhones, the basic camera. There's a feature that we're finding more useful all the time, and that is the use of the panoramic. And
Yeah, you can go ahead and put yours.
yeah. What? So here's my, I'm gonna set this thing right. I can actually use options on here for my camera to be able to choose a panorama. Oh, here's my HDR setting, by the way. Turn that on. That uses a lot more memory. But let's go for the panorama. This is neat because what it lets me do is basically start a panoramic camera, and I just have to try to track around the room and keep that arrow on that line as close as I can, all the way around this room. Oops, telling me to slow down. And finally I'm reaching the end of it. And there it's done. So what I have now is a panoramic picture that I can view the room. Open a battery power.
Low battery.
Yeah. So the panoramic picture may or may not be showing here. There it is.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's more than a 180 right there.
Obviously, the rooms are not very interesting topics, but suppose you're out in the field, you're in a setting where it'd be great to show the landscape, this kind of thing. Very
So
useful.
what was the name of that app?
This is actually just in the iPhone native camera that comes with the iPhone. If you look at the top of the screen, it says Options. Click that, and you'll see that panorama button. So have fun with that one.
Actually, I haven't used that one before.
Okay. With that, how about Android apps? Let's see what Stephen is an Android user, so I'm going to turn the control interface over to him.
Yes, I am both iOS and Android user, so I have a little bit of experience in both. I mostly, I think as Dan was saying, I do mostly just use the default camera most of the time, and it really works great for me. And depending on, I think, which Android OS you are on, will dictate what options you have in your camera mode. But as we were talking about before, the cameras are getting better, but of course you have to still apply the same sort of rules for photography with your phone as you would a regular camera. Composition and lighting, the timing, all those kind of things are still going to be the most important part of your photos. I have a few photo apps that I use. My favorite one for if I want to share something with people is Instagram, which is also an iOS and Android app. But I like it because it's easy to share on social media. You can apply effects to your photos if you'd like, similar to some of the apps Victor was showing earlier. And it's nice because you can comment on your friends' apps. You can comment on yours. It's just a very good way to share your photos.
Does it also give you ways to manipulate the photo?
Yes, you can do some simple manipulations. I don't think you can do text or graphics on them, but you can do colorizations, borders, and frames, those kind of things to your photos. Or you can upload it as is.
So the only thing I don't like about Instagram is that it will automatically crop your photo to a square like the old Polaroid.
Yes, yeah, that's kind of the one thing about it is it does try to copy kind of some older camera styles. With the square cropping, a lot of the color options are kind of what would be considered a vintage look.
Right. It works for some photos, but not all. But as far as sharing, that's probably the number one photo sharing app.
It's the most popular. So if you have something that you want to share, I would probably recommend that app. And you can either, once you're in the app, you can take a photo from the app, or you can use a photo you've already taken previously using your phone's camera. Another app that I think is also on the iOS system, but in Android that I like, is called Snapseed. And it is probably my favorite app for manipulating and working on your photos. It has a lot of options, probably the most I've seen. In Android, it's free. I'm not sure if it's free or not for the iOS, but
yes, it is.
Okay. It just has probably the most options to manipulate your photos. Everything from doing some grunge effects to them to the colorization. It's got a ton of options.
Actually, I have a couple here I can show
Show.
folks. Find them. Okay, here's Snapseed. This is a photo taken of a dying technology. And the idea here was, can you make the photo say even more by using some of these filters? And this is one option. I just played around with the colors, with this grunge effect. Borders, you can see the edge has that sort of grungy look to make this a different kind of photo. Another color choice. Again, easy to play with and experiment with. Here's one I took of a typical summer scene in the ag world, but by playing with Snapseed, I gave it a whole different attitude. So what we're kind of challenging you here to think about is, sure, you can take photos with your mobile device, but you can also create something very different with what you take by using some of these applications. And it could mean a lot of things for how maybe 4-H students use photos in their exhibits. They can try to capture not only what they're sharing, but also kind of add some emotional impact with using these filters. So our challenge is for you to try these things, see what happens.
I saw a comment here by Dan is that he's saying he's learning that his phone has a variety of sync settings, and if you don't watch it carefully, it will affect the battery and just run it down really quickly because there's transferring files automatically as you take a picture to the cloud. And that's something you definitely have to be careful with. If you set up your iOS device to sync with iCloud automatically every time you take a photo, it will do that. There's ways of turning that off, though, so make sure you know which setting you have. If you want to do that, that's great. But if you want to save your battery, you want to make sure that sync is off and only sync when you need to, when you have plenty of battery.
Yeah, one thing I definitely want to talk about with both really Android and iOS is the ability to auto backup or sync like we're talking about. They both have great tools that you can use, and Google just upgraded. Just recently, they announced kind of an upgrade to their photo system. So there's even more options as far as manipulating the photos once they've been uploaded to your Google Plus account.
Mm-hmm.
And these are options that if you haven't looked at them, they'll be in your Android device. And like Victor was saying, you can usually choose to sync via Wi-Fi, or you can use your data plan, or you can do it manually or turn it off. And I think some of those same settings are for iOS as well.
Yeah. Let's look at a few more of these kinds of apps that you can generate different photos. One of the things that might be useful is just being able to resize a photo very quickly. There's a number of apps out there. This one's called Simple Resize. Mm-hmm. And you can see just by dragging, you bring in your photo and you drag the photo size that you'd like. And that way you're not possibly overwhelming someone's email box or other kinds of locations that may require either a lower or higher quality photo. Camscanner is another one that I use a lot. Are you familiar with Camscanner?
I'm not familiar with that one, but I have a couple of other ones that do similar things.
Let me tell them about this, then you can mention the others. Camscanner takes the ability to grab a photo of something that's useful, like a document, or a whiteboard, or anything else, and then create basically a scanned version of that that's a lot lower memory use, a lot smaller file size. It lets you actually take a photo and then take all the color out of it and reduce it in size, so more like a fax kind of capacity.
It actually enhances it to see the text.
Yeah, it actually looks easier to read than a photo. So if you're used to taking photos of things around you for memory joggers, or for your database of whiteboard discussions, whatever, you can save a lot of memory and make them more readable by using something like Camscanner. What's another one you've seen?
I think, well, there's one just called like Scan to PDF, similar.
Scan to PDF, yeah.
Automatically creates.
I have a couple. One's called Genius Scan, and the other one is Turbo Scan. It does very similar.
So if you put in scan into your iTunes store,
The search, yeah.
apps,
Mhm.
stores,
There's quite a few now.
you find something. So explore those. Pic Stitch is another thing I found useful. It's just the ability to quickly create composite photos that just allow you to basically here select any of these formats, side by side, 3 up, all these variations, and all you have to do is click on the choice you want and then insert the photos from your camera, and presto, you've got a nice composite photo that you can use for a variety of things. For one, I found it useful. I made my Christmas card with one of these.
That's cool.
Which means, of course, you have to add text to these things. And what's this one about?
Yeah, this app, I haven't used it a ton, but it's a really fun app that you can. It's got a bunch of what they call stickers, so you can think of it as sort of a, I guess, scrapbooking style photography app. And you can add these stickers, bubbles for words, those kind of things. It's really more for having fun with your photos, sending little cards, making kind of a scene that you took a picture of, fun, with maybe quotes or other things. They have a free and a paid version. I'm not sure what's in the paid version. I've only used the free version. But if you're looking for kind of an app for fun photos and to liven them up a little bit, it's a good app to look at.
Yeah. We're just pointing out 1 or 2 examples. There's probably thousands that will do this. So we encourage you to do some searching and look for that option.
Another one that lets you add text is one called Typic. That's Typic. And the Photo Studio app that I was showing previously also lets you add text.
And Stephen, you've also been exploring Google Plus. Maybe you can give us.
Sure. I was kind of mentioning this a little bit earlier, but it's if you set it up on your phone, and I'm not actually sure if you can do this on iOS or not. I'm not sure where they're at, but in Android phones, at least, you can set, like we were talking earlier, set it up to back up or sync your photos. And once they're uploaded to Google Plus, they have some great tools. They have some auto enhancement tools, and they have tools where you can go in and edit your photos pretty extensively. Now they've kind of changed it to where they'll highlight photos that they, through some algorithm, think are your good photos, so it kind of creates galleries and slideshows for you automatically. It's a great way to share and see your photos. So check it out on Google Plus if you have a Gmail account. They've made a lot of changes.
Well, we had an interesting question come in, didn't we, Victor?
What's the best way to discover the best apps when there are so many thousands?
Yeah, it's really. I wish there was an easy answer to that. One of the things I do, we talked about this in an early EMDUG, is when I go look at an app, I look at the star rating.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it's for free, I don't want to fill up my phone with a lot of second-rate free apps. So look at the star rating. The other, of course, is look at the reviews,
The comments.
and the comments that people make.
And the number of downloads as well.
Number of downloads. And sometimes when you look at the comments, you can always find the one person who's kind of upset, and you have to decide whether that's valid or they're just having a bad day. I wouldn't throw out an app if it had one bad review. Yeah, part of why EMDUG is here is to get us all to share these ideas. So we encourage you to send us lists of your favorites. That might be a good assignment. Participants, send us your favorite app.
And there's blogs all over the place that are specifically just for photography, or what people iPhoneography, photography with your iPhone. They will list the top apps that they think. Some of the similar ones start coming up over and over again. So if you start seeing the same name on different blogs, then you know that.
Other photo manipulation apps, though, there are some that are just pure fun. This idea of manipulating the colors and changing and giving a grungier look or whatever to reach different audiences or say things. These are endless. I mean, I've had it and tried those that will take the picture and kind of distort it so you can make a funny face, like a carnival funhouse mirror effect on people. All these things can be explored. I'm trying to find one here that I tried that was kind of fun. A pop camera. This one, basically, you choose how many photos you want to create a collage from, and it actually is a camera. So once you've chosen how many photos, you click the shutter button and you start spraying your smartphone around in a circle and at different objects in your environment, and it's snapping pictures to match the format you chose. In this case, I was on a bike ride and chose this four up option and pushed pop camera button, and it snapped these photos as I was wildly waving the camera around. It's fun. It can have serendipitous effects. Sometimes you get really great results just by pure chance. Other times, if you're methodical, you could probably do this with more easily with one of those compositing programs like Pic Stitch. But again, part of it, I think, with phone apps is that they're spontaneous. I mean, you're somewhere and you can find an app that might create a whole new picture of something around you, and another way to record your work, your customers, your clients.
There's also no rule that says that you have to use one app for the same photo. I mean, you can actually take it in one app, manipulate it in another, share it through, you just can use 4 or 5 different apps. I've done that with several different of these creative apps that have the different effects. One effect might be missing from one app, and so I'll use to start off in one and add an effect there, and then jump to another one, and you save it to your album. Then you open it up in the other one and add that other effect that's in that other. So you can just kind of layer these effects with different ones. A really fun one that I also like is one called Toon Paint. It will
Toon Paint, like
Toon Paint.
Toon?
That's correct, like cartoon.
Cartoon.
Yeah. It will actually, it will turn your photos into kind of an illustration type look, which is kind
of
They have a comic book style.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you mentioned one, Stephen, that would even let you do some measurements, right? I mean, for more utility stuff.
Yeah, this is one I saw on the iPad, and it came in handy because my wife and I have been looking around at homes, and so we've been, measuring when we go to look at a house. We'll use this app to help measure stuff to see if our furniture will fit. Basically, it's just a handy app for taking a photo, and then they have real easy tools for adding in measurements and angles, tagging your photo with whatever kind of measurement information you need in there. So if you're looking for, I don't know, if you're out and you need something where you like to know the length or the angle, depth of something, it's a good app to look into. I think it's called Measurements.
I remember seeing one that lets you measure the height of things. So like a tree, let's say you want to measure a tree, right? So you have this little indicator on the camera that it tells you, put it at the bottom at the base of the tree, and then move it up, and then put that same indicator at the top of the tree, and it'll tell you how tall.
Do you have to be a certain distance away for
that
to work? Okay.
Yes, yeah. So then you measure how far you are from the
From the
object,
tree.
and it calculates it.
Yeah, the cameras are much more than just creating photos. They're putting data into your smartphone that can be used for all kinds. So we've talked already a bit about sharing and saving photos. Guys, is there anything else that you want to say about these issues of sharing? We mentioned that you have to be careful about the idea of photo stream or other cloud-based options. I find them really useful because then I can keep dumping photos off of my camera to free up space. But yes, as folks online have said, Dan said, you do run through the memory, you run through your battery power. Sharing photos, we've talked already about that. I know there are tons of ways to create slideshows, other kinds of presentations.
One that I use, it's called PhotoFlow, and that lets you create really simple slideshows. So you grab your photos from your album, you put them one after another, you can put transitions, and you can also put text underneath them, plus music in the background, and then save it as like a little video slideshow.
Yeah. And Wi-Fi photo, I think.
Wi-Fi photo is actually for transferring your photos from your iOS device to your desktop. One of the complaints of these photo things is that before you had to go through iTunes in order to download your photos, because there's no way to hook up like a USB flash card or anything to your iPhone, right? So there are apps that will actually, over Wi-Fi, if you bring it up, it tells you, type this IP address into your browser, and then it will actually, over Wi-Fi, see your iPhone, and you can then show the files, different photo files, and you can just grab and download that onto your computer over Wi-Fi.
And of course, there's also Dropbox, which many people
right.
are using, and just be aware that it too is a real powerful photo saving and sharing.
Yeah, with Dropbox, I believe it syncs as soon as you connect your device to your computer. I'm not sure if you can sync it. I think you can maybe do it over Wi-Fi as well. But it can be handy whether you're doing a point-and-shoot camera as well as your mobile device.
Oh, here's a cool one from Margaret. It says that she just purchased the ProScope Micromobile microscope that snaps on the iPhone and uses the existing camera app to take microscopic pictures.
Wow.
Yeah, that's awesome. I've seen different applications of that. It's pretty cool.
Which actually is an interesting topic we forgot to mention, but Margaret, thanks for bringing this up, because there are a lot of accessories you could look at for your smartphones. I know, Victor, you used a lot, and in fact, I think I took one of your ideas and I decided to try one of these snap-on wide-angle lenses.
Right.
And I think I spent $13 for this thing. It was okay, but the thing is, it
Give you a different
attaching
look.
to your camera. Yeah, it gives you a different look. So the wide angle actually was kind of fun, but it used a magnetic way to snap on the back of my camera.
Others come with like the case, so it's kind of attached to a case, and you put the phone in your case.
A site I like for all of those kind of accessories is called Photo Jojo. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that. Is that photojojo.com?
Yeah, photojojo.com.
So you write that into the chat.
I'll copy it into the chat. Yeah, they have a lot of great accessories for your phones and other cameras as well.
Yeah, it's always a trade-off between, again, the accessibility and portability of your camera. Do you want to carry around a little bag that's twice the size of your camera full of accessories? It depends. It's just kind of a mindset about, we might say, I'm going out for sure to get photos today,
Right.
so I'll take along my accessory.
Another accessory that's really great is there are usually some cases or whatnot that you can put around your camera to actually connect it to a tripod, so you can get a lot steadier shot. That's definitely something you might want to look to if you do a lot of photos.
Great. Well, the last thing we want to touch again on is we've this last 55 minutes or so, we've talked about a lot of things about cameras, apps for taking photos, for manipulating them, for all these different purposes. But it comes back to thinking how you might use your mobile device's camera in a creative way. And it could be something as simple as capturing your whiteboards so that you don't have to try to sit down and scribble all this stuff in the meeting. Other ideas we've talked about are social media posting. The idea that you can get things up on your social media very quickly in just a fraction of a minute. You're on Instagram, or you're on Facebook, or your 4-H kids are showing their prizes right away online at the social media site.
Yeah, it's instant. You don't have to worry about sending something off to the lab like we used to do. You have to wait days.
Yeah, my favorite thing is just the ability to instantly back up your photos is such a great ability to have these days to worry about whether or not you'll lose it.
Mhm.
What, Alex, someone's asking, what phones have the best cameras? Wow, I just upgraded to the iPhone 5, and I can't spit out the specs for you, but they say it's improved over the 4S, which I used for 2 years and really liked. So I haven't even pushed the limits of this one yet, but I'd say Apple is right up there.
Yeah, I have the 4S, and that has a 5 megapixel, I believe, and Jeff, yours is, I believe, 8.
Is it 8? I don't even know what I have. But other, I mean, it's not a corner on the market. I think the Samsungs are probably also getting good marks.
Okay, Wei says that the 4S and the iPhone 5 camera is the same. The cameras is, I think, the same, but they actually have a different lens on there. So the i5 is a little bit higher.
Yeah, I think
Quality.
they do.
I know that the Samsung S3 and S4 for Android have usually been one of the better mobile cameras. But having said that, I believe, is it Samsung? Can't remember which company, but they actually created a camera first, not a phone first, with the Android operating system.
Oh, I've heard of that.
So it's pretty neat, and I'm forgetting what the name of it is right now. But so it can do everything that a phone can, but it's really first and foremost a camera with Android operating.
So we're up against time here.
Yeah. And we do have some questions coming in as we wrap up. And
There's storage options.
storage options. So
Again, Dropbox or someone in the cloud service is usually your best bet. There is a connector for iPads that will let you transfer your photos from a compact flash card into your iPad, but I'm not sure if it goes in the other direction. So at the moment, the cloud storage is the best, or using a Wi-Fi app that lets you transfer from your camera or your tablet to your desktop.
yeah, I think with the cloud growing hourly in size. And ease
Yeah,
of
unlimited
use,
storage for free is the other question. No, unfortunately not, but they keep on increasing the free limit. It used to be that you could only get 2 gigabytes from Dropbox for free. I believe they upped that to 5, and Google Drive has.
Yeah, if you use the Google
Peterson.
Plus images, you'll basically be covered, unless you're doing, I think, insane amount. They were covering at least 20 gigs, and I think they upped that again.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a lot.
And it's pretty much infinite, I think, unless you're just uploading a gig or 2 a day constantly.
well, it make it be
Photos.
different when you start looking at video and those kinds of things. One of the cautions is if you start using multiple cloud services, it gets difficult to remember
Where you
is
put your photos.
that file. And then you have to have some kind of meta search capacity, and they don't have that yet. So we're going to wrap it up here in the last minute. We hope this has been useful. Again, our ideas are just to get your ideas flowing back and forth.